Also, we do have the Newsweek, and it is Sphere of Influence. And you can see how Saudi Arabia's growing power is shaping the Middle East and beyond. That is what you can follow inside the Newsweek as well. And the week, the Trump verdict, a shocking first for America. It's coming up. That is what is on the front page of the week as well. The Trump verdict, a shocking first for America. And you can see him here sitting on that particular quintessential. This is the memorial at the Lincoln, yeah? Ebb Link, and of course you can see a ball and chain there. That is Trump. All right, so we eagerly wait to see what will really pan out in November. Now that we have the verdict, does it make any substantial difference as far as elections is concerned? And this is what also has been taken over by the week in the UK. Forever stained? What Trump's felony conviction means for the election and for America. That is on page 4. 6:15 and 16 of the week. Right, we continue with the conversation here with our panelists, and we wanted just to hear from that particular, all the stories that we've run this morning. Just to weigh in, first of all, we begin with you, Dr. Kanenje, briefly, Malawi and the tragic event that has happened. Maybe you can have a moment just to share your condolences and deepest sympathy for the country as well. But the more consternating thing is that also this was a military chopper, right? So in this year as well, you can just count the military choppers that have taken some of these world leaders. We're talking about Iran. Now we have the Vice President of Malawi. We have our own general here. What is with the military choppers? Anyway, let's just begin with the condolences.
I think, thanks, Dibal. You know, first of course, our thoughts and prayers, you know, go out there to the people of Malawi and the family of Chilima, you know, the Vice President of that republic. It is indeed sad. I think within it, you know, it also had the former president, the wife of the former president, Bakili Muluzi. It's extremely unfortunate. Now, if I was conspiracy theories, I probably have thought this a conspiracy, you know, to, you know, get rid of some leaders. Mm-hmm. But I think one thing that is going to be important is for nations to realize how important it is to be able to protect their leaders. And when you are a president or a vice president, you know, you are a national property. Yes. And, you know, countries in states should, you know, treat you as such. And so whatever means of transport you're going to use, you know, has to be something that has been inspected properly. You know, that such accidents are actually, you know, reduced. Because what has taken place, you know, all the way from, you know, Tehran now to, you know, Kenya and Malawi.
What is it?
While it's not a conspiracy, I don't believe it is worrying trend, because tomorrow it could actually be worse. Mm-hmm. And we may start losing people in ways that can cause, you know, social, political strife within countries, and something which is unhelpful. So I do not, you know, think we should take this, you know, lightly, and we should invest in ensuring that the kind of transportation, and especially aircraft that are used to ferrying the presidents or senior leaders of countries, you know, are actually taken care of, including our Harambe one, which we've not been using for a while. If there is need for us to get a different one, perhaps we should move in that direction, because you don't want to get a place, especially in a part of the world such as this one, and you know, God forbid, you know, the president dies in a crash at a time when you're having political crisis within a country. It can easily plunge countries into, you know, state of panic and civil war.
Right. From Peter Kagwanja, briefly.
I think the world is going through a very rough time, really walking a rough patch in regard to the planes as our mode of transport. And countries are mourning. For me, it all started in June 2012 when we lost George Saitoti. There been a very, very formidable candidate for 2013 elections. One must say that. Then And of course, rumors and everything swirl around some of these issues. Earlier on, we had lost a contingent of people who are really taunted as potential Kenyan presidents from the not the main group. I remember Godana,
Yes.
as somebody who, as Kenyans, were eyeing as a potential leader in this country. And now, fast forward, we have lost the CDF just recently in a plane crash. And before that happens, in Iran, we've lost the president in a plane crash. And now we have the vice president of Malawi. What that means is that I think we need to invest. If we're traveling within the country, we need to invest in trains because they seem to be safer than any other means. Do you know they are the only means of transport where you don't have the safety belt? Whenever I'm traveling from Nairobi to Mombasa, that's my preferred mode of transport.
Yes.
And when my family moves on that, I am more comfortable.
It's true.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable. I sleep, I don't care. Because it's there. Look across the world and tell me when you last heard of the railway accident, so to say. So I think we need to think that, investing that. But more importantly, it's about the impact of these plane crashes on our politics. Because there is always, human beings in many cultures don't die. People don't jump, they are pushed. And therefore...
they don't die, they're killed.
People don't jump, they are pushed. And therefore, conspiracy theories always surround these things. And as a result, then you find that nations are becoming increasingly unstable. Look at the story in Iran and about the relationship between the president and many other elite of that country, and the story that has gone around that. Look at the story about the relationship between the deputy president of Malawi and his boss. And the stories are going that, which has gotten the president to be in pain, to explain that even the details of the accident.
Yeah, on the cusp of election.
Yes, the cusp. Yes,
so
that's
people will wonder, really.
Yeah, that's
and you being also the strongest contender for that particular seat.
That's okay. That's what I'm trying to explain, and for me it's important to bring that home. So when I see the deputy president going on a private jet, I think Kenya is safe. Not a private jet, but a public transport. I think Kenya is safe. And I think I would encourage the president also to start using the railway and also to start using the aircraft, because Kenya needs to be safe and Kenya needs to be stable. We don't need gossips here in this country. We have seen a lot.
Dr. Obonge.
Okay, thank you very much, Dibal. It's a very sad situation in Malawi, a grieving country, losing its leaders. Naturally, our message of condolences and our hearts go out for the people of Malawi and we wish them well. But beyond that, I think Dr. Nench and Prof.
I don't know, your mic today is really acting up. It's really crackling. I don't know what's up with it. We need just to sort it out. So I'm sorry. I have to button again so that it can get sorted. Faramalim can weigh in as well as we get that sorted. I don't know. There are monkeys hanging on the line. On your line.
Somebody finishing me.
No, it's your fellow villagers.
Fellow villagers today, they're on your mic as well. All right, we need to change the entire mic, I think. All right, let's just listen from Farah.
Yeah, I think I was on a parliamentary trip to Australia, and I was in Canberra with from the Australian Federal Parliament members and the Speaker. When my peer who was with me on the ship whispered in my eyes and told me that we've lost George Saitoti. And if George was alive, politics would never be the same.
Yep.
you know. I can tell you that for free. I can actually speculate and say who's going to be the next president after Kibaki. So for him just to perish like that in a government chopper with everybody inside, the first thing that comes to mind is that foul play. But how do we get to the bottom of that? Even the investigation was, in my opinion, and the inquest, is it inquest or inquiry that was done? You know, hush hush. So everybody now I talk to on the Malawi issue tells me this man was going to be the next president. The current president had no chance against him. And whether it's because of whether he was unable to land, or whether because of a technical glitch, he had to come back and then disappear. It's a bit tricky. Because of whether you don't land, you're told to come back to the Lilongwe. Is it the Lilongwe? And you disappear.
Yeah.
So do we have a weather which is so bad between Lilongwe and all the way to the place you went to? Usually when you see the weather is bad, you can turn back and avoid the weather. I don't know, but everybody believes that he was killed, and by none other than people close to his, the current president. But having said that, you talked about...
but that is purely speculation.
Okay, speculation, yes. Everything. Life is all about speculations, by the way. Or all about conspiracy theories. And the bulk of those conspiracy theories, by the way, are right. When people tell you that Kennedy was killed by the deep state, and progressively, 60 years later, 61 years later, everything you read points to that. Every information that's coming out. You know, Kennedy gets killed, and you have a Warren Commission, and Gerald Ford is a member of the Warren Commission. You get my point. One of the reasons why Kennedy was killed, people say, is that he said he was going to rein in all these secret societies, which are not so secret. And that time he was going for AIPAC, American Israel, you know, Public Affairs Committee, and he disappeared. And Nixon goes, but before Nixon goes, his number 2 goes. Spiro Agnew, because of tax evasion, some shoddy things, and he resigns. Gerald Ford, who is from the House of Representatives, a very junior place there, becomes the vice president, and then Nixon goes. Gerald Ford, who was in the Warren Commission, now becomes the president.
Yeah.
So these conspiracy theories are there, and they're there. Now, let me just come to Darfur. I think there was something about Darfur.
No, we'll come to Darfur. No. Yeah, we'll go sequentially. Yeah, we'll come to Darfur. Right. Obongi, we can just hear from you then. Yeah.
I can hear an echo, but I hope I'm clear now.
All right. If we could just disconnect Dr. Obongis from the fallback, please. Right. You can continue.
Okay. No, I was just saying that I want to join my colleagues in really sending a message of condolences to the people and government of Malawi. It's a very sad time to lose leaders at that level. And I was saying that Dr. Nench and Prof and now Mheshimiwa here seem to be skirting around the issue that in my view is fairly clear, gentlemen. You know, here is a deputy president who has not been in the best of relationships with his force, and a serious contender to the presidency in an impending election. And he dies in an aircraft. It just fits in the belief that we have in many African communities, that people don't just die. People are killed. There's always a reason, there's always a force behind somebody's death. And the Malawian is fairly obvious. It's now important that when leaders are quarreling, they need to think twice. and this comes directly to our Kenyan leaders. Interestingly, our President Ruto is quarreling with his deputy. Our President Ruto is quarreling with the former president. That is not actually a very good situation for the country. Somebody who doesn't mean well for this country will come and they eliminate one of them, and then we will have a very awkward situation that will be a threat to the existence of the country as a United Nations, as it were. So for me, it's actually a lesson for our three leaders who have not been behaving very well lately to think twice. I know that Deputy President Gachagua is playing to the Garel, playing grievance politics, seeking sympathy. But President Ruto and Gachagua need to know that there are better ways of sorting out their differences than coming to the public and washing their dirty linen in public. Also, President Uhuru and President Ruto need to know that they are leaders. The Constitution is very clear what needs to be done to the retired president. For the establishment to behave in such a way that bespeaks of mistreatment to a retired president is not good for the country. And there's another dimension to it, that President Uhuru, and we have said this in this forum, needs to retire and retire completely. If that is what is causing some chittery within the current establishment.
So is it, he's not really entitled to speak out if he feels aggrieved by the fact that what is his due is not really coming through?
We are not talking about...
Will you really characterize, right?
Deepal,
There's cause and effect.
Mheshimiwa, just a minute. We are not talking about him keeping quiet. President Kenyatta, just like President Ruto and many other leaders, were actually interns, so to speak, in the Moi administration. And they have one or two things to learn from Moi and Kibaki.
Thank you.
When Moi retired, he retired.
Thank you.
When Kibaki retired, he even retired permanently.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah. All right, I want us just to head to Somalia with the UN Security Council and begin with you, Dr. Kanenje. Yes, Dafu will come to it because I didn't cut you short. You went to you were actually going off on a tangent, but I want us to go sequentially. We'll come to you as well, but you can contribute on the UN Security Council. The new kid on the block.
Yes, the new kid on the block. First of all, congratulations, to our brotherly, country, Somalia, for taking the honor to represent us, since they're the ones from the region who are going to be there, and to be, frankly, they've come from very far, from a state that was barely recognized by the international community as existing, to being admitted to serve on the United Nations Security Council. And this is, in certain ways, significant. At the end of this year, ATMI's mission is supposed to be coming to an end. There is supposed to be some kind of framework which is going to need support of the international community. And so that is going to enhance Somalia's agency, speaking not just on its own challenges they're facing, but I think also being able to voice the challenges of the region. Mozambique, of course, which was replaced, didn't communicate very much, and this is the first time Somalia is being there in about more than half a century, frankly. And what we hope is they're going to be as loud as Nairobi was when we were presented by Ambassador Kimani on a number of issues and vocal. Perhaps not everybody agrees with him on every issue, but to the extent that Kenya exploited that opportunity, I think it's not in doubt, for good or for worse. And so what we hope is that Somalia is actually going to do the same, because while we allowed the presence of African countries in the Security Council, not all of them have had an impact. And remember, we were also once there, and we were fairly silent, around 1997 and stuff like that, until this later day that we actually I recognized, the importance of being part of the agenda setting of the United Nations Security Council. Of course, they're non-permanent members, and so their power is going to be limited. But I think their voice will not be muted if they decide to do that. And Somalia, I think, has a lot to be proud of, but the proof, of course, going to be in the pudding. What are they going to do with that position once they assume office, or at least that place, for the next 2 years. And I think it's a rare opportunity for Somalia to actually voice the concerns, not just of Somalia in terms of reconstruction, in terms of fighting Al-Shabaab, in terms of the role of other international players in the region, but also critically be able to enhance the agency of the Horn of Africa region that has more or less imploded, in recent
Peter Kagwanja,
months.
briefly. Just to remind you that today also we're ending up at 8 o'clock because we have also an important show regarding the finance bill that is coming through. That's why we just want to be very tasked as well so that we can run through all this.
Yeah, I think we need to give tribute to President Hassan Sheikh and his Prime Minister Hamza for a couple of reasons. The elevation of Somalia to the UN Security Council is simply a capping of a chain or string of successes that Somalia has had in the last 2 or so years. You recall that Somalia has returned to the international financial system, forgiven debts, and it's now a credible member of the international economy. That cancellation of debts and its inability to raise its own taxes in a way like every other country to fund its own recurrent expenditure is a huge success. Of course, President Hassan Sheikh focused on fighting Al-Shabaab physically in the field, but I think he was more strategic in terms of the way he did diplomacy. So the United Nations was able to lift the arms embargo on Somalia. Therefore, it is not AK versus AK in regard to state versus the terrorist. Now, the state can arm itself better to deal with the terrorists. And that's why, Al-Shabaab is really on the back foot. And we've not had much of it. And unfortunately, it's moving now to Kenya. And I think we need to do something about it. It's moving there. This is a year when Somalia is supposed the tenure of Artemis, the Africa transition mission in Somalia, is ending after the end of AMISOM before it. And luckily, Somalia has entered the East African community.
Yes.
And therefore, if there is need to avoid the Afghanistan situation, where the international force leaves and the terrorists come in, then the East African community can mount, particularly Uganda and Kenya and Burundi, which are already in the country. They actually don't need to leave. It's just a negotiation of a new arrangement that should need to be done. And that means now that Somalia has entered what we call in conflict studies, the post-conflict and reconstruction, construction and development phase. And what therefore we are now focusing on is, can Kenya take advantage of that and basically deal with some of our problems of unemployment by helping Somalia's reconstruction and development? And therefore we start bickering and villagizing ourselves. We regionalize ourselves and basically take advantage of that. Already, I am told there are 100,000 Kenyans in working in Mogadishu. I heard from the president's team that in his deep village, 100 or so kilometers from a local village called Dusamareb, there is a Kikuyu there teaching in a secondary school.
Many.
And he is a representative of very many who are teaching that country. We congratulate Somalia, the UN Security Council. We congratulate the region for staying the course in terms of supporting Somalia's return to statehood. And we do look forward to greater regional integration in what we are calling shared prosperity.
Right.
Let me weigh in before Mheshimiwa comes.
Yes, please.
I know we will make a more substantial comment on this. We join Somalia to celebrate, what they have achieved in the last 2 or 3 years now. For far too long, and in many ways, many people have been thinking that Somalia is the sick man of the Horn of Africa or Eastern Africa. I think this new development of being an important member of the Security Council, albeit non-permanent member, will help the country to reshape its image in the international system and do it in such a ways that it will disappoint those who have always been thinking that Somalia will be an embodiment of violence and conflict. it is quite an important step, forward. And those who have always thought that nothing good will come from Mogadishu, now we see it. That's why I said in this forum, I think it was last week or the week before, that it is high time we begin to leave Somalia alone, because the Somalis are the only ones who will constitute a viable and a lasting solution to the Somali problem.
Right, but what's an oxymoron? We have them sitting at the UN Security Council. Back home, we have the warring factions still continuing with the clans. Here we have Marihan, we have Dir, we have people now fighting, but they are at the UN Security Council. So really it flies in the face of you sitting there and you're feeling a bit antsy. Things are not really at home.
Let me tell you one thing.
Yeah, we have Salva Kiir, who is the chair of the EAC, and then of course
you can't compare Somalia with any other country in the world. I'll tell you this for free. To begin with, the Taliban were not terrorists. It was a serious people movement that wanted to replace. And right now, you should do a little bit of investigation how Afghanistan is improving like hell on a daily basis. Anyway, you can't compare Somalis with anybody else. Let me tell you one thing. Al-Shabaab will blow up what you call a whole shopping complex, and 3 weeks later, it's back again. People are building and constructing and everything else. So the resilience, the sense of resilience on Somalis, the ability to bounce back is unmatched in the whole world. And as they are fighting between themselves, Mogadishu is the fastest growing city right now in the whole of the continent. I mean, you see the skyline of Mogadishu and you just can't imagine. You forget it. If you've not been there for the last 3 months and you now see it, you can't recognize it. That is probably their own, it's in their genes. And then I'm impressed. I'll tell you why I'm thoroughly impressed. The foreign minister is a good friend of mine. And hardly a year ago, he could hardly express himself in English. And you can see how much has improved.
You've given him some tutorials, you see?
You know, that's a Somali for you. You know what I mean? And he's able now to hold his own, in any forum. And as we're talking, you did not mention the fact that we've got one of the front runners for the AU chairmanship. Yeah. The chairperson of AU, Fawzia, the former deputy prime minister.
But Fawzia will not make it.
Just a moment. It doesn't matter when she makes or she doesn't make it. They will come to an understanding between themselves and Djibouti. That for sure. You can take that to the
Just
bank.
continue as a check out your mic.
Yeah. My mic has got a problem?
No, you continue. It's off and on a bit.
So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that whatever they have done, joining the Security Council, getting rid of what you call the arms embargo,
yes.
Coming back into the international financial systems, wanting to lead Africa, and having somebody who's going to become the chair of, you know what I mean, of the AU,
Let me put it here.
doing similar things in the Organization of Islamic countries as well as Arab countries, Arab world. I mean, that's Somalis for you. They will try everything. I mean, nothing is impossible. By the way, let me tell you, 90% of the people you see out there, including the person who was put together the BBS, do not have a formal education. Yes. You understand my point? There are people who just studied the Quran and the religion and that's it. So for them, ambition and working hard towards, is part of their life. But having said that, I really want to take exception to what's happening in Darfur right now.
Yeah. I
mean, this is bad. In Darfur, the 3 major tribes who constitute more than 80% of the population are the Fur, the Masalit, and the Zagawa.
Yeah.
And then you have a minority who call themselves Arabs. By the way, there's no Arab in the whole of Sudan. You can be Arabized, you can look like me, you know what I mean. Typical 100% Arab should not look like me, you know what I mean. Look like me, and that's about what it is. But it is sad. I mean, that genocide, and this is being done by the RSF.
Yes.
The RSF is doing that. They've been used everywhere. They were used in Yemen to destroy Yemen. They would be used anywhere in the world as mercenaries. And right now they're being used to destroy Sudan the way they have destroyed it. Sudan will never be the same again. But I think African nations and the African Union itself must rally behind the legitimate government that's there, and allow these people all the resources to get rid of these thugs Who are the Janjaweed? I don't even know. The Janjaweed is basically RSF.
Yes. Yeah.
It's nothing different. It's just some young Arab boys or other who call themselves Arabs who have been put together there to destroy the indigenous people of that place. And I think the ICC is doing a very good job, fantastic job. I'm impressed with that. And the same way as Africans and Pan-Africanists would want to see as black people globally, we want to see a change in Haiti. Yeah. Personally, I don't oppose our what do you call commitment to go into Haiti, but not from the perspective of the Western American and the rest of it, from the perspective of fellow blacks who have been victims of that conspiracy from the West for the last 200 years, and who need some black people to come there and help them and put them together on their feet. And I think that probably is going to work very well. For me, that's a perspective. The same thing also in Sudan. I think it's time the African continent came together and put a stop to that nonsense which is going on there. Because you have a bunch of these young boys. There could be 10,000, there could be 20,000, but they're causing mayhem onto millions of lives there. Yeah. Millions and millions of lives there. So I agree with Khan. He should take them all to court, starting with the one who came to us the other day, who has stolen all the gold of that place, and he's literally the master mercenary. He's another Eric Prince in Africa. You know Eric Prince. He's another Eric Prince, or Dinaud. What was that guy called who used to do coups in the Comoros those early days?
I don't remember.
A French guy. I hope he's
yes.
not. Yeah. So we have to come together as the continent and see how we can help a situation like that.
Thank you. Right. Yeah. Let's see from
maybe I write a very quick one.
And one last one. This man is no longer a villager. He's literally a Kenyan, because when we are talking about Malawi, he did not say Marawi. He said Malawi.
Malawi. People of Malawi.
Marawi.
Not Malawi.
Malawi. Yes.
It's Malawi.
You're waiting for it. You may even lose its track of thought briefly, so that we can actually pick up also on the issue of Darfur. I think he's really commented on it, but also it's been slow in coming, this particular announcement from the ICC.
Yeah, very slow.
How many years are we talking about since now that particular war erupted in South Sudan?
In Sudan.
In Sudan, yes.
In Sudan, better late than never. I think it's about time that something, we move in the direction of holding people to account in Sudan. This has been going on for far too long, and a lot of people are being really destroyed.
I forget also Bashir was on it, so they had actually, he was a wanted man. So
exactly. We're talking about Sudan. In the recent,
the recent
conflict in, last year in April, and I think this sends a very powerful, message, to the fighting parties, because they've literally plundered the country and destroyed, lives without any accountability whatsoever. But at the same time, it's a wake-up call for us, on the continent. We don't have to have foreigners trying to, cry for us to help, or rather to take some decisive action when it comes to Sudan. Now, I think the continent and AU, as well as IGAD, should be able to engage. The trouble now from the IGAD perspective is we are having a lot of issues at home within IGAD, because Sudan is also part of it. And so that has to be a continental mechanism, and then to be able to push the international community to harmonize efforts, because we've been having competing efforts that are not really bearing much fruit. Now, while on the issue of Sudan, I can't help but mention what is actually also going on in Nairobi with regard to South Sudan. It is something that has been forgotten, but has the potential to actually, cause a lot of havoc, not just within South Sudan itself, but, has implications for us. And I want to laud at Kenya's role in trying to re-engage, in South Sudan, and Lazarus and Boyo are now back in the fold again. And some of these experienced people should always be at the front line, when we should always deploy those resources. But when it comes again to Sudan, Kenya was supposed to be taking the lead role. With their efforts had been made by Nairobi, through the IGAD framework, and it's also something that we should be able to deliberately and intentionally actually be able to re-engage again in ways that can be able to bring some peace. Because if we just hope for the world to come and save Sudan, it's not going to happen. We can have to take ownership as a region, and Kenya is the preeminent country to be able to take that lead, no matter the challenges that we're facing in the process.
Right, Ken, briefly.
Well, I think I can reinforce what Hassan is saying, that we cannot afford to sit back and watch, what I could easily see as the full genocide remix coming back. We have had the situation there before. And it's unfortunate that it's happening. And probably this is a time when the African Union needs to grow its teeth. I mean, we have been doing lip service on this for far too long. So we need to get out and, try to do what we are doing in South Sudan at the moment. We cannot allow the Darfur genocide to come back because this will be
it's already back.
This will be a repeat. So I think, where are the African statesmen? That's why I would wish that instead of our president and former president fighting and quarreling over vehicles and offices, they should be playing a role. President Ulu should be playing a mediatory role in preventing some of these skirmishes that are happening. I wanted to mention something about Somalia, which probably many people are not aware of, is that young Somalis are becoming quite very active in the education sector in Kenya. Right now, without any statistics on my hands, I suspect that the highest number of privately sponsored students to the University of Nairobi are Somalis.
Yes.
And many of them are doing quite well. So if you look at that as part of the reconstruction of Somalia, is something very positive both for Somalia and also Kenya.
All right.
Just that these ones who you see now going through university, 90% of them are Kenyans. Mm-hmm. But still, they will make an impact on the other side. You're right.
Yes,
very
of course.
right.
Yes, of
but
course.
Over 100,000 Kenyans are working in Somalia today as we talk. In excess of $300 million gets remitted every month. Not by the way, not every year. Every month. You're talking about almost $4 billion. In
the diaspora remittance.
Well, from that side only. From that side only. It's massive. You see, and you know what happens? We don't allow them to come up with their passports inside here. And none of them is coming to look for employment. They come to do business and go back.
Thank you.
And our own officers, let me just explain this.
We actually remaining in the 4 minutes.
Our own Kenyans would largely get their visas immediately on application.
Thank you.
You see what I mean? So are we shooting ourselves in the foot? Or do
we do that every so often, unfortunately.
Right. Kagonja, briefly.
I think what we need to observe, the sad thing to observe is this return to parochialism.
Yes.
Us versus them.
Yes.
And it is in this context that we want to hail Somalia or praise Somalia, because we've seen the fruits of movement from parochialism of the Farmajo time. Yeah. To now the universalism and the regionalism of the Hassan Sheikh Mahaboob's time. It is true. I mean,
But that's according to your opinion.
Yeah, no, I want
your characterization is
the video.
It is
okay,
Professor
okay.
Kagwaja.
Yes, he has his consultants. He has his consultancy for Hassan Sheikh Mohammed.
No, that's okay.
And the consultancy
he was denied the consultancy.
I had the
consultancy.
No, I was given by Hassan. I had.
And Hassan Khairi.
Yes, I had. It's okay. And that did not prevent me from speaking the truth about Somalia, even though I was working with Farmajo's, Prime Minister. For a long time. But the point is that that's the us versus them, the villagization of our politics, parochialism of what we've seen in Darfur, the Arabs, us versus the others, the Africans. That is what is the challenge of our times. So I would say, hail the villager, but let's not be parochial.
Let's not live in the village.
Yes. Hail the villager, let's not be parochial. My music is up. Let's just get some closing remarks from our panelists. Dr. Kanyenje?
Yeah, I think the conviction of Donald Trump is not going to make fundamental difference on U.S. elections.
Yeah, very interesting.
The
also,
recent elections
pick up
in
the
EU is pointing to the rise of the far right.
Far right, yeah.
And it looks like Rishi Sunak is going home, and the Conservatives' time
I can't wait for that to
it's
happen.
over in England very soon.
So there, the week is asking a shocking fast for America there. The Trump verdict. Yeah, is Abe Lincoln right now, who is coming. And they're forever stained. Is he forever stained? What Trump's felony conviction means for the election and for America. And you can see here, he's really besmirched in his golf course in Mar-a-Lago. Is it Mar-a-Lago?
Morocco.
Morocco. All right,
Mar-a-Lago.
there you go.
Mar-a-Lago, yeah.
Let's listen from also Dr. Obongi. Your closing remarks?
Yes, I'll end by urging our Kenyan politicians not to balkanize the country on tribal or ethnic lines in the name of going to our villages. Kenya is bigger. If I may use the words of the late George Saitoti, it's just bigger than all of us. And there comes a time when we have to make that very clear. So the ethnic backlash that we are seeing currently based on parochial politics is something that all of us should condemn and urge President Ruto and all our leaders, including our former Prime Minister, to raise up the occasion and one more time, put Kenya on a nationalist and nationhood mood.
Right, fantastic. Peter Kagwanja, your closing remarks?
Yes, I would reiterate what he has said. I think we have an opportunity to look back from where we are coming. There was a time when it was the only a Somalia could be considered neutral. Abdikadir Mohammed, Farah Malim, there, when you appoint Karu, we all. I remember.
Is Farah Malim considered neutral?
No, that time he was.
That time.
All the Somalis.
That needle has moved.
Yeah, it was now. Now, of course, he's a dangerous Kenyan.
Has it moved to the village?
No. He's up there. But I just wanted to draw our attention to where we are coming from. Because we are coming from a very difficult time when we almost pushed our country
to the
brink. And we have taken the last 20 years to pull back from the brink.
Indeed.
Let nobody use his own personal ambition to take us back there.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. You need to redeem yourself.
No. I'll write my biography at some stage. I'll tell you the day I saved the country, along with one other friend, with none other than Kenneth Marende, my speaker at that time. When my party leadership wanted us to take a certain decision. Remember when those tantrums of Ababu Namwamba,
with the Solomonic decision?
No. The Solomonic was later. Even that one, we did it together. Fully did it together. And in both cases, I told them, I disagreed with my own party and told them, look, the country is bigger than us.
Indeed.
As individuals. And if we had not done that on that material night, we would not have Kenya today.
Fantastic. Let me just go back.
We're
finishing.
Let me just go back. Listen. You seriously want to develop? Go back, go to the village with generosity and altruism. If I give you my phone here on an average day, I send not less than 200,000 shillings. But this is in the form of school fees, in the form of somebody who really is in need and wants food and everything else. And every Somali leader does that. You get my point? And that's why we're moving as a society.
We need to wind up.
But these guys, one person from the community is richer than the entire Somali nation put together. But to share that with his immediate brother and to trust his immediate brother with business and give him 20 million, 100 million shillings and say, let's go into this business together. That doesn't happen. We do that on a handshake ourselves. We don't do it with a lawyer.
It's all about trust.
Where's my bell? Anybody who wants to develop, as well as we're developing right now, is jealous of the Somali. I'm talking about my mountain brothers.
Thank you.
Just learn from us the way we do business.
Fantastic.
And you will have nothing to regret about.
Right. Talking about business, of course, we have another business that is coming up, and this is Peter Wakaba, who is coming up to take over so that I can just give us an inkling of what is happening with the finance bill. A big debate, of course, it has been. Tomorrow is a crunch time in Parliament, so They'll break the numbers for you, give you insights. If you have questions as well, you need to just tune in for that particular discussion, which is coming up next. So we have to wind up early today and tomorrow as well to pave way for that particular discussion. Thank you for your valued company.